Welcome back. The manhunt for the Facebook Live murder suspect, Steve Stevens, ended yesterday after Stevens killed himself following a police chase in Pennsylvania. The tragedy, the latest in a string of violent crimes that have been broadcast on social media, bringing to light new questions over the responsibility tech companies have in dealing with the issue. Joining us right now is the Vice President of Product of Tinder, as well as Kairos Society founder and chairman, Ankur Jain. Ankur, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
You have a big event. Kairos has a big event where we've got CEOs and managers of business coming in. We want to talk about that. Yeah. But what's your take on this? We just heard from CEO of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, saying that the company's going to do what it can to prevent tragedies like this from happening. What should technology companies be doing now?
Look, I think to understand this problem, you got to step back and look at the context of how we ended up here, which is that for the last 10, 20 years, Silicon Valley's operated in our own bubble, right? The products we've built have created tremendous wealth, but they've kind of operated in a silo away from the rest of the kind of markets. Now, for the first time, Silicon Valley is a mature industry, not that different from any other. And we're starting to see that the growth opportunities are actually coming from rethinking these traditional industries, government sectors, media sectors, retail, retirement planning, et cetera. And so all of a sudden, companies like Facebook are accidentally almost finding themselves in the position of being one of the largest media companies in the world, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a challenging issue because the product and the platform was never built originally to be a media platform. And so you don't have this kind of safeguards and regulations in place that allow you to tackle these issues without dealing with these public
But for somebody who's as bright and intelligent as Mark Zuckerberg,
yeah.
In the Valley, there's the rush to get products to market and then deal with the problems down the road. That's exactly what Facebook did with Facebook Live. They pushed it out in 2016 and didn't even think that it would be used this way. And granted, 60 sensitive videos out of 2 billion users is a drop in the bucket. But they have a small team of contractors basically parsing the video content on Facebook Live, and that's just unacceptable.
Well, I think to step back, right? It's easy to point out like the flaws and the holes with any model. And I could even take Fox News and look at issues that have come out over the last 10 years, 60 out of 2 billion, right? The challenge is when it does happen and it becomes an issue, how do you handle it? And I think that's the mindset shift we're starting to see in the Valley now, which is saying, okay, we're now not just operating in this silo, we are playing in this bigger sector that's affecting hundreds of millions of people, if not billions, right? And so
they need to work with each other, because the problem was this video got out from Facebook and then it was uploaded to YouTube and kept repurposed.
No, the problem was that they didn't take the video down on Facebook.
True.
No,
I know,
but it's down quicker.
But what about AI, right? Because if you read, Mark Zuckerberg talked about the fact that AI actually can help locate these videos faster, so it's not just literally people reporting and clicking, which wastes a huge amount of time. But he said the technology, that's really not going to be able to do that for a couple years.
Well,
right?
so this is where things get interesting. I was sitting now with actually Mark Thompson at the New York Times yesterday having this exact debate about what do we do with this, right? And he was saying this is actually an opportunity for entrepreneurs to start approaching this and saying, rather than how do we like Facebook solve this, what if we could build the online editorial? How do we rethink the idea of editorial for this new world? And that's a combination, most likely, not of just pure AI, which is years out, but it's this combination of human plus AI. But if you approach the problem with the right mindset, which I think is the biggest challenge, like people can say one-off, can we crowdsource or report it? But the reality is, once the video is online, you can take it down. It's going to pop up 1,000 more places.
But, is there a better way to take it down quicker? I mean, you said it was 2 hours.
There definitely is, but that doesn't solve the problem still, right? Because in a world where any individual can post on any number of platforms, that still doesn't solve the problem. So if you can start to think about editorial as a feature, now you can imagine across all platforms you can start to protect and prevent these videos, even if they get out in the first place.
Ankur, we want to move on and ask you a little about technology, because Tinder acquired your company.
Correct.
And now you're looking at product development at Tinder. And tell us where the growth is within technology from your standpoint.
So again, I think we're looking at this at Tinder. We've talked about this at Snapchat, but like, people forget that Snapchat didn't become massive because they were just a disappearing photo app. In many ways, they were actually rethinking what TV was like for a millennial generation, right? So millennials spend more time watching TV, quote unquote, on Snapchat than they do on actual traditional TV.
So then Snapchat unveils this world. It's a program that lets you add 3D objects to your photos using new lenses.
That's right. And I think it's a really interesting timing, too, because you've seen Snapchat's user growth has obviously slowed. And I think that's because when I look at it from a traditional industry standpoint, They obviously pushed out the new TV, if you will. But the next wave of growth, I think they're now seeing in the content production. Not that dissimilar to how Netflix, I mean, you saw they now announced $2 billion of cash flow loss on content creation. Snapchat's almost a more innovative way of content creation. So the more tools,
right, but they got to focus on augmented reality or virtual reality, like Facebook is doing with Oculus, right? So it's focusing on these new cutting-edge techniques that they have to. Yeah, I actually tried it. Yes, I actually was trying this to see how it works. Yes, because I was trying to see. You can't see it, but then it's within 4 feet in front of you.
Well, look, it's fascinating because you've got everyone always talks about these revolutionary technologies like Magic Leap or Meta or all these augmented reality things that are going to change the world. But in reality, every breakthrough tech over the last 20 years has actually come out more incrementally than just as a sudden shift. And I think this is what starts to move that. So like when Zuckerberg yesterday talked about AR starting with the phone screen and not with glasses, I think that was one of the most important statements in understanding where technology is moving.
Yeah, and also the glasses are going to get smaller.
Yeah.
You're not going to have these gigantor glasses that you're going to, so that will also enable different usage.
Exactly. And so I think this is really interesting for people that watch like this show, right? But mixed reality, augmented reality is not just fun for content creation and all that. It's going to let us rethink industries like even job training. So we were working with some of the folks at Lowe's. They're now using VR and AR as a way to train unemployed workers who have lost their jobs with new skills. So all of a sudden, in your comfort of your own home or at the local Lowe's, you can go up and you can start learning how to tile walls and do it where you're putting your hand in this virtual bucket and you're doing the motions.
Wow.
And the memory recall is so much higher because you're actually seeing and feeling all these senses that the job training is much faster, it's more affordable, it's more accessible. And so the implications are much broader than just content.
You're hosting the Kairos Society Global Summit this week. What should we expect?
Right. I think the goal of this is how do we focus the next generation of entrepreneurs on rethinking these areas where governments and industry have failed to innovate, right? We need that partnership. The challenge that we want to solve with Kairos, though, is to prevent a situation like this Facebook situation. Can we get these CEOs and heads of state and world leaders to help us identify the market failures up front and then use entrepreneurs to innovate against those market failures, not just throwing things out and seeing what sticks.
And so people know Kairos is basically a summit of tech leaders and world leaders that get together to address
Kairos Society is actually a venture fund that's coming in and investing in young entrepreneurs in this space. And so we're always looking at, again, the pace of innovation in the Valley is just so fast, but there's such a disconnect between our world and these other industries, right? I mean, government hasn't changed the way we think about retirement since the Great Depression. Right? And so bringing in that innovative thinking can really make a big impact there.
Great analysis, Ankur. Thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate it. Good luck with Kairos.
Yeah, thank you.
And your summit. Ankur Jain joining us there.